I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, August the 22nd, brought to you in part by Bovolus Vision. Bovolus Vision vaccines give cattle a strong protection against clostridial disease. Powered by the spur adjuvant that boosts vaccine while causing fewer reactions and reducing stress on the cattle post-vaccination. Also, every time you buy a bottle, it enters you into a monthly drawing for a fancy Greeley custom-made cowboy hat. For more information, go to powered-by-spur.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyards. Beaver County's going to have a big sale here today on Tuesday, about 3,000. And then this time of the year, that's a pretty good size sale, guys. They're going to have a light run of calves, only about 300 calves, light run of cows through the ring, but they are going to have some cows or some bred heifers on video. The bred heifers will sell straight up at noon. They've got 63 head of black fancy bred heifers. They're bred to a low birth weight bull. They come out of Bovina, Texas. They're ready to go for you and really, really nice, guys. So be sure and tune in there. DVAuction there at Beaver County Stockyards prior to noon and get approved to bid before that with the office people there at Beaver County Stockyards. But they're going to have over 2,000 yearling feeders at Beaver. They've got one string of 500 head, be 775 to 850 pound, really nice black yearling steers there, one deal. Another 400 head deal of 7-weight heifers going to be there, 350 head string of 8-weight steers, another 350 head string of 6 and 7-weight heifers, and then there'll be several other individual loads and part loads there. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure and get on to Beaver County Stockyards on DVAuction.com. And don't forget, on Labor Day Monday night, Fair Piece, Dr. Rodrigo is going to be hosting a steak fry there in the late afternoon, evening there at Beaver County Stockyards. I'm going to be giving a presentation. Dr. Rodrigo, I believe, is going to be giving a presentation on Fair Piece. And then they've got a big feeder flash Beaver Clash coming up on the Tuesday after Labor Day. And they've got a big run of yearlings set up for that sale too. So don't forget that. They do ask that you call and tell them that you're going to come, so they kind of have an idea of how much food they're going to need. Cash feeders melt. It has been so hot. The end of last week and over the weekend, I mean, just sapped the central part of the United States. We saw, record highs all over. Dallas had 109, which is a top temperature for them on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. That didn't break the all-time record high that Dallas has posted, which is 113, and that was posted in 1980. They've got a lot of 100-day or above temperatures there in Dallas, but it has not beat out the 71-day string of 100-plus heat days there in 2011. So it's hot, but it's been this hot before, but we haven't seen it in quite a while. Always gets hot this time of year, but it is extreme right now. Salina, Kansas posted 113 here recently over the weekend, and that beat their all-time record of 111, which was posted back in 1936. Lawrence, Kansas posted one of the highest heat index levels ever at 135 heat index level, guys. I mean, it is dangerous, dangerous hot. And when it's this hot, people don't want to buy new cattle. Even yearling cattle, even if they've got some empty pen space. And they're probably loosening cattle up. I haven't heard of any devastating losses in the feedlots. And no, they don't feed a lot of cattle in Lawrence, Kansas, but straight north of there they do. Into eastern Nebraska, guys, and it has been really hot. I've heard a lot of rumblings about and within some different feed yard guys talking about how hot it's been, how dangerous it is. They get really scared when the wind's not stirring. Luckily down here in the Texas Panhandle it's been hot, but we always have a nice 20-mile-an-hour wind to help dry things out and keep things cooled off. But it has been scary hot, and it hurt the market. We didn't have very good runs in our Monday sales, even our big high volume sales on Monday. When the runs aren't very good, some of the orders won't even get started. So the cattle were plainer, the cattle were hotter, the cattle were showing signs of heat stress, and you don't want to put them under more stress and then load them and take them somewhere else that's been really hot. And it hurts the market this time of year when it gets like that. But the board was up pretty good to start the week on Monday. That's always a welcome sight. It's just the algorithms, the traders, and the orders that come in on the board don't understand how hot it is, and that cattle live outside. And so even though the board was up pretty good, our feeders and our Monday sales were lower, and that's just because people aren't real excited about getting any new cattle. But did have one highlight on Monday on the Bighorn Classic Superior Livestock Sale video. The Sage Sir Cattle Company, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but that's the best way I can figure out how to say it, from Edmondson, Texas. They sold, now think about this, 240 weaned steers. They will be weaned 70 days by the time they deliver, which is not very far away, a couple of weeks. 375 pounds. So they were bought as pee-wee-wees out of the southeast. Just purchased cattle. Now mostly black and dark Charolais, got a few solid reds on them, but just commodity cattle, guys. But hard weaned, had all their shots, no programs, of course. Like I said, purchased out of the southeast, and those cattle are going to deliver in early September there. 240 of them weigh 375, bring $442.50, $1,660 per head, people. Oh my goodness. Now that's a record high. Of course, we see record highs periodically. They've kind of stalled out a little bit here in the last few days, but that is a big one there, guys. Especially when you consider, not that there's anything wrong with the cattle, but we usually reserve things like that for those ones that have all the bells and whistles. But people want commodity cattle too, guys. Let's talk about your board for Monday to open the week. August live cattle futures up 45 cents. At 178.97. October up $1.05 at 179.87. Hey, look at your back months, and the board responded like we thought it should. We had a bullish cattle on feed report. I told you guys over the weekend, or for the Monday report, that I would expect the board to be higher, especially the deferred months. And oh my gosh, that's exactly what happened. And something's weird going on whenever the board responds like it rationally should. But your back months on live cattle futures up 47 to up $1.12. August feeder cattle up $1.20 at 246.77. September up $1.80 from 250 at 250.32. And that's what for sure ought to be higher, is these August feeder cattle too. And they were up, your back months were up 177 to up 210. So, very strong board showing there. And, they're saying that all of a sudden now we're in a positive fundamental area. But, when it's 100 and something, it's going to hold the market back. December new crop corn was down 10.5 cents a bushel at 482.5. It's starting to look like it's going to stay under $5, guys. It was blistering hot in the corn belt, but the corn, from what I am hearing, in most places are looking pretty good. Of course, there's always going to be one guy who says, well, behind my house it doesn't look very good. I'm looking at the total picture, guys. So as a whole, the corn belt looks pretty good. New crop beans for November up 8.5 cents, 13.61 3/4. They're going to need a drink before they're done. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for September down 12.5 cents a bushel at 7.41. Talk about your weighted average for last week's negotiated fed cattle trade out of the 5-area feeding region. And they didn't trade as many late week as they have been for the last several weeks. So we didn't see the volume come up as much as I thought it might, but still 62,300. That was a little bit better than the previous week of 61,400, but not nearly as good as the same week a year ago of 84,000. Your live prices of fat steers and heifers in your 5-area feeding region range from 178 to 189. That was a buck lower than the previous week. We had about 1,600 that traded under or traded 178 or lower, including 1,200 head that traded in Texas on Friday at 178. The market was 179, but when they only sell 4,700 head in Texas and you sell 1,200 on Friday, a buck lower, it's going to move that weighted average that everybody gets paid on the formulas. Go back to your Packers playbook, guys. That's exactly what they plan to do. The guy had a lot of cattle of mixed quality. Some of those cattle in that 1,200 were expected to grade less than 35% choice. That's not par, guys. But anyway, that's the way they do it. We just stand here and watch them do it. Let's talk about your weighted average on live steers in the 5-area last week. It was 185.04, down 84 cents. Your dress trade last week in the 5-area ranged from 284 to 298. That was from 2 to 8 bucks lower. Only 190 head at 284. Only 230 head under 290. So, you know, your realistic bottom should have been up there at 290, but most of the cattle trade from 290 to 295. And your weighted average on dressed steers last week in a 5-area was 293.76, down a buck 84. So as a whole, the Southern Plains was a buck lower at 179, with that 1,200 trading at 178, just to suck the weighted average down just a little bit more. And most of these formula cattle are not priced off the 5-area weighted average, guys. It's the individual regions 5-area, except for Colorado, and we don't ever get enough competition in there to print, so they can't use that. I don't know that we should be supporting mandatory price reporting because the Packers are using it totally against us. Your Northern Plains was steady to $3 lower from 185 to 188. Dress trade steady to 5 lower from 290 to 295. Nationwide, they sell 72,000 negotiated compared to 74,100 the previous week, and 101,600 the same week a year ago, which is still minuscule, but I think we should at least trade 100,000 negotiated in the nation, you would think. But of the 72,000 negotiated, about 39% of those were for the 15 to 30 day delivery, so they're starting to let us get set up for that. They're thinking there's going to be a little bit of a bump here in our immediate market ready supplies. So the Packers are hoping to get some market position back here. They're looking to set that up, buying more cattle for the 2 to 4 week delivery, getting set up there, and our show lists are starting to increase a little bit. They're backing off the slaughter, and they're not buying hardly any negotiated sales. So they're going to try to get, even though it'll be short-lived, they're trying to get your Packers kind of backed up a little bit on getting marketed. But your negotiated grid sales, 42,900 head. Who trades negotiated grid? Well, it's not the Northern Plains, because the weighted average on negotiated grid steers last week was 179.08, and they're trading some dressed negotiated grid, but your weighted average was below the weighted average of the 5-area. It was 293.70. So there's not much negotiated in the negotiated grid. They're just turning them in that way. Forward contract 16,700, and formula sales, no price discovery, no transparency. Formula sales 269,100 head. Of the 4 out of the 5 areas, Iowa traded 29,600, Nebraska traded 19,600, Kansas traded 8,400, and Texas traded only 4,700. Box beef cutout values started the week off lower after huge gains last week, but they want to move some products, so they back it up. Like I said, it's not negotiated. It's basically just a menu. The packers have to adjust that to try to get some movement going there, and they adjusted it down here earlier in the week to get some sold. They have not much. Choice cuts down 55 cents at $315.56. Select down 103 at $287.33. Your slaughter for Monday expected to be 122,000. Slaughter's been running light here of late, guys. The latest slaughter for up through the year to date is down 4.1%. Meat production down 5.0% with lighter carcasses. Talk about what else is going on. Night Latch Group, Andy Cunningham in Western Oklahoma. That's what he come up with, the Night Latch. He wants you to hang on to your investment. Offers crop insurance, all kinds of livestock policies, including LRPs, and the gross margin policy, which he's kind of perfected there. Get a hold of him, let him show you how it works. Go to nightlatch.net. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction. Based on an 800-pound steer up through the middle 12 states, a cash auction steer. It was down, and not surprisingly, as your markets trended a little bit lower, but the RTI late on Monday was at 245.16, down 35 cents. Don't forget, for you guys, especially out in the eastern corn belt, if you're looking for some really good feeder cattle, tune in to the Abington Feeder Cattle Association's tele-auction sale. It's going to be on Tuesday night. It's going to be at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central on DVAuction, guys. They're going to have 22 loads of Virginia quality assured feeders right there. My old buddy Butch Foster, he gets on there. You got to tune in just to see how they do it. They've got an auctioneer. They don't really chant. They just call out the prices. And then you've got Butch Foster hollering in the background like Bob Wills. And if he doesn't think the bids are coming fast enough, you know, he'll say, "Oh Lord, have mercy," or something like that. I really enjoy the way that they do that. But tune in there. You won't believe the quality of the cattle there, guys. And they're in load lots. They're all shots, all long time wean. Everything you need, everything's right. Talk about your big sales on Monday. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma National Stockyards, only 5,200 head. Heat, guys, the extreme heat limited receipts there, and it limited the demand. Feeder steers were steady to $2 lower. Feeder heifers were $2 to $4 lower. Calves steady to $3 lower. Joplin Regional Stockyards, same deal there. Light receipts for them, only 3,500. Feeders were steady to $2 lower. Calves in Joplin $6 to $10 lower. And the offering was quoted to be hot and plain, and that's just what you're going to get there. Your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day come from up in Nebraska, Shaven Sale Barn, West Point Livestock Auction, West Point, Nebraska. They had the barbecue special there, 3,250 head, and had a really good market there. You look at this automated market report from West Point, Nebraska. Look at your best tested weights there on steers. 205 head of 7-weight steers, average 746 with a weighted average price of $247.18. 155 head of 8-weight steers in West Point, averaged 846 at $231.67. 626 head of 9 weights, they sold even higher than the 8 weights. They averaged 948 with a weighted average price of $232.24. Look at the heifers, 144 head of 6-weight heifers, averaged 667 with a weighted average price of $240.76. 399 heifers in the 7-weight category, averaged 753 at $232.61. And 817 head of 8-weight heifers, averaged 8 1/4 with a weighted average price of $228.80. Good sale in West Point, Nebraska. How about a couple individual quotes? How about Aberdeen livestock sales in Aberdeen, South Dakota? They had 54 steers, weighed 916, bring 236. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Tina Livestock in Tina, Missouri. 66 head of steers, weighed at 814, bring $2.50 a pound. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.